Okay, so I gave a Total War Saga Troy a try, and I really wanted to like this style of game. I mean, Civ is one of my favorite franchises of all time. I have sunk probably thousands of hours into that franchise over the years. And you would think that a game that leans into building armies and battlefield tactics would be equally awesome too, right? Well, years ago I tried Total War Shogun 2, and I think I gave it a few hours before deciding I wasn't willing to spend the time learning how to play it. Some games are excellent for being slow burns, or complex enough that you can learn something new after putting hundreds of hours into it. I think most of us would agree that replayability is a great quality for a game to have, especially when the game doesn't involve multiplayer. Anyway, fast forward 10 years later, and I had a feeling I knew what I was getting into. I tried to convince myself to come at this game with fresh eyes, but I knew. Total War is just as involved as ever with Troy. So, I opened the game to a pretty awesome fight scene, giving all the background story of the Iliad. So, I can say without the least bit of doubt, this game's story is epic. You get your choice of game mode, historical versus truth behind the myth, which seems really neat from a gameplay perspective. But I have to be a little pedantic here. We aren't even sure what of the Iliad really happened, so differentiating between real and mythic is... Truth behind the myth makes your general like a boss character that can fight entire units of the enemy army solo, while historic makes it just so the general and his bodyguards are just an elite unit. Truth behind the myth also has a god blessing system, giving you different buffs or debuffs based on what gods are good with you versus angry with you. You then get your choice of general. Greek, Trojan, maybe Amazonian? I spent probably 15 minutes sitting there reading about who to pick. Eventually, I settled on Agamemnon, who seemed like an easy, straightforward pick. But I have to give a special shout out to Ajax, Warlord of Salamis. I've already hinted towards this, but I was super overwhelmed starting this game. It's a dense game, which while I was expecting, I was still not prepared. You get 2 quick tutorial battle missions, and then you're off to the races. Simply put, fight from high ground, use cover to surprise the enemy, and hit their flanks when you can. The game gives you quests to complete, which I assume is their attempt to give you some direction. But, to be perfectly honest here, I felt like I spent more time reading than actually playing. Should I concentrate on growing my current cities, or take over more? Or should I just burn the other cities to the ground and take the resources? Maybe I should just have my generals raid the countryside instead of direct combat. Then there was royal decrees and commandments, not to mention trade. And are a city's building slots worth specific unit type recruitment that could be used for resources? This game was quicksand. The more I tried to dig out, the deeper I was sinking. Now, I didn't spend much time on this, and it appears this is what could have really broke the game open. But the army building looked interesting. Light units versus heavy units, sword versus spear, cavalry, ranged. There were plenty of options here. But why pick what type of unit and how many? I did not even approach getting this question answered. Then comes the actual battles. Regardless of how much stronger or smaller my army was, I could never tell during battles. Although, I did feel like a boss winning a battle outmanned 3-1 by using choke points and rotating units in and out. But I then lost a battle later when I outnumbered the opposing general by a couple hundred. I guess you can't win them all? And I am sure that everything is based on probability, where there is no absolute 0 or 100% chance of winning. But this felt like too harsh of swings in either direction. As you take part in battles, your generals will level up, gaining access to different skills. Everything from passives, like more ammo for your ranged units or better defense for your shielded units, to active skills during battle. You also have an ultimate ability, Aristia, that if you can build up usage of, makes your general go berserk. This skill alone can turn the tide of battle in your favor. If there is one thing I can tell you about this game, 10 hours wasn't close to enough time to even scratch what it has to offer. The one nice thing about dense games is when you find the right one for you, the replayability is unrivaled. And while I don't want to claim this is a bad game, because I honestly don't think it is, I am just not willing to invest any more time into it. Sometimes, even games that seem great on paper just aren't what you're looking for. But if you're looking for a war game with excellent army building, unit placement importance, and overall micro control during battles matter, Troy, a Total War Saga, may be the game for you. Hopefully this review gave some insight. Thanks for watching.